Welcome back to the Mac Power Users. I'm David Sparks and joined as always by Stephen Hackett. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, David. How are you?
I am great. Today we're going to be talking feedback. This is one of my favorite show formats because it allows us to free range the Apple ecosystem. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like chickens.
Yeah, there we go. It's like chickens, but nerdy. We got a lot of stuff on the agenda. A lot of questions came in, a lot of great feedback. Today on More Power Users, we're going to talk a little bit about how we're using AI. I did a disastrous experiment with trying to make it edit my ad read. I can't wait to share that story with you, Stephen. You're going to hate it. But hey, I tried. And just kind of fun to talk about what we're doing, this stuff as it continues to evolve. But that's the ad-free extended version show. You can learn about that over at relay.fm/MPU. But I think we should just dive into it. We got a lot of stuff here today.
Yeah. We're going to dive into the cloud first.
All right. I like that.
My analogy broke
nice
down.
Metaphor. Yeah.
We spoke about iCloud.com on a recent episode, and it was a lot of fun to dive into what Apple has available on the website. But I got some stuff that we need to clarify from that episode. Yeah. We said, I think more than once, which is kind of embarrassing. We kind of conflated some stuff with advanced data protection and access to your data on iCloud.com. So here's the real deal. Sorry, we got this wrong. If you turn on advanced data protection, which adds end-to-end encryption to many more things in your iCloud account, then you can temporarily allow access on iCloud.com. So in settings, these are two separate switches: advanced data protection and allow access on iCloud.com. In fact, you can disable iCloud.com access without turning on advanced data protection if that fits your needs and scenario better. But if you have ADP turned on, you can temporarily allow access to the website. So how that works is you go into settings, go into iCloud. With ADP turned on, you say, I want access on the website, and you have to approve that on a trusted device. So on your iPhone or on your Mac, you'll get a pop-up and say, hey, is this you? And then you have access to iCloud.com for 1 hour. But each time you go to a new section of iCloud.com, so say that you're in Notes and suddenly you want to go over to Photos, your trusted device will have to you will have to allow it on a trusted device again. That makes sense? So each step of the way, your device is really checking that it's really you. And then after an hour, the access gets shut off and you have to turn it back on if you want it.
Yeah, I thought we said the first part that you could have it independently turned off even if you didn't use ADP, but the temporary access part was new to me. So
yeah, we didn't get into that. So that's the deal. There is a support article called Manage Web Access to Your iCloud Data in the show notes, so you can go read more about it. And like we said, I've got advanced data protection turned on and got my recovery key safe and sound, because if you turn this on, one of the side effects is Apple can't get back into your account if you lose your password. And so that really is a big factor in deciding if advanced data protection is right for you or right for someone in your family or someone that you're helping. If they're a person that can't handle not living without a password reset, maybe think about it. For me, I have my recovery key. It's safe and sound in 1Password. I have a PDF of it, in there, and you could put a printed version of your recovery key in your safety deposit box or your fireproof safe in your house or whatever. But it does limit, because of the protection, it does limit Apple's ability to get you back into your account if you misplace that password. Now, the trade-off is you get two-factor authentication on many more things. For me, that's worth it. I can be okay with having a recovery key and having, that sort of safety net of Apple support taken away, but that may not be true for everybody.
Yeah. I think anybody listening to Mac Power Users is a candidate for this. Mm-hmm. I think you probably have your act together. But what Stephen says is Absolutely true. If you lose the recovery key and you forget the password, you are SOL on all your data. That means your pictures are gone, your files are gone, anything that
Yep.
you have connected to iCloud is just gone. Apple can't do anything to help you get it back. So that's a real risk. But the upside is your data is much more secure than it is otherwise. Like, they get a subpoena, they're going to give them whatever's there, and if you've got ADP turned on, it's not going to be much. If they get hacked, the bad guys are going to get whatever's there. But with ADP on, I think it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your level of expected privacy
Mm-hmm.
and your willingness to put up with the pain and inconvenience of having to be responsible for your own recovery, because you don't get it. And I would really just consider it. And the one thing about this I would say is, do not, like, a lot of people listening to the show are the people who like help friends with stuff. Do not cavalierly tell people to turn ADP on, because you may be helping a friend lose all their photos if you do.
If someone's keeping their passwords in a legal pad, like one of my loved ones, ADP may not be for them.
Yeah. Or the sticky pad or the Microsoft Word doc, all those people. No.
Yeah. Oh, the Word doc. That's a classic, man. That's classic.
I was once with an Apple employee who told me the exact number of like law enforcement data requests, like inside the company. I guess the people who care about this stuff know, like, they keep track. And it's a lot, and it was really bugging him. And I think that's why ADP exists. I think the people at Apple, they don't want to, they want you to be private. They want you to keep your data private. So that's something I like about the company, frankly. iCloud Private Relay, I think we were kind of dismissive of it because of our experiences with it, but we got feedback on that as well.
We did. We had a couple people who kind of wanted more detail on what it is and how it works. So it prevents websites from seeing your IP address and location, and prevents network providers from collecting your browsing activity in Safari. So we did talk about that. If you use an alternative browser, so say that you use Chrome or Firefox on your iPhone or iPad or Mac, or you're using any other application that talks to the internet, iCloud Private Relay doesn't do anything to protect your IP address and location in those applications. It is just for Safari. Now, I would argue that, your browser has much more information about you than a lot of other things, and a lot of the other risks that come with like data. Any app's going to have their data encrypted at this point that's in the App Store. But the web is like this much broader thing, right? And you do a lot more things on the web than in apps. And so it may work for you if you use Safari and you want those additional privacies. This is a layer on top of do not track and all the other privacy things built into Safari. And honestly, I don't think Apple gets enough credit in this area about building in privacy into Safari in particular, right? They've done a lot of work to keep advertising networks and rogue, bad websites from following you around the internet. And sometimes it's a little annoying, right? Sometimes those features can get in the way. I think that's what we were sharing, that our personal experiences with iCloud Private Relay have not been great. After we published that episode, we got some feedback about this, and I turned it back on for almost an entire week. And it just wasn't like, it's still not great. Like I still felt like I was running into websites that weren't loading correctly or were behavior that I wasn't expecting. But it is an option if you want that privacy. So my overall opinion on it hasn't really changed, but I did want to clarify that it is IP address and location tracking prevention just in Safari.
I, like you, I believe in the concept, and I love that they're doing it, but it does cause problems. And the thing is, you forget that you turned it on, and you're on the web and something's just not working and you can't figure out why. And then you go and you turn off, you turn off Private Relay and suddenly it works again. So That's the part. Like I don't know how they thread the needle, but hopefully they're still working on it. And I think what you did is right. I think like every 6 months I should go and just try it for a couple weeks again, because I would love to just leave it on. I use Safari. I am a privacy-minded individual, and if this would work, I would love it. Maybe I should write a shortcut. I don't know if there's a shortcut or an Apple script I can write to toggle it, like just so, like in case of emergency, toggle it without having to go dig in the settings. Maybe that I'll look into that. That might be something for the future.
Yeah. A couple other things. You can set it up where iCloud Private Relay is enabled on like a per Wi-Fi network basis. So have it off at home, but if I'm on the work Wi-Fi, turn it on if that fits your needs. You can also, and I didn't know this, you can also have it enabled or disabled based on what SIM is active. So a lot of people, I got friends who work this way, where they have an eSIM for where they live and an eSIM maybe here in the US that they turn on or off. And maybe you want to have iCloud Private Relay turned on for one of those lines and off for one of the others.
Yeah, like when you're traveling, put the shields up, kind of thing.
Yep. And then lastly, you have some control over how specific your location and IP are shared. So the thing of it hiding your location, that could work against you in certain scenarios. Like you're going to a website and it needs your location and it doesn't have it, or it gives a bogus one or something like that. So you can set in settings, iCloud Private Relay, IP address location. You can maintain the general location. So that would give you like, okay, I'm in this country or in this region. Or you can do country and time zone, which is a little bit more obscured. So you do have some options there to kind of fine tune it.
I guess the question is, anybody interested in this stuff is probably going to get a VPN. And, where is the tipping point between this and a VPN?
Yeah, I mean, a VPN is going to cover all of your traffic in and out of your device, not just Safari. A VPN also lets you manually select what location. So if I'm in the US, but I want to look like I'm in the UK, I can set my endpoint on the VPN to London or, someplace in the UK. And so it gives you broader protection in terms of everything on your device. It gives you more control. And of course you can use it like in a corporate setting. You may use a VPN to get like back into a network, right? Or I could set up a VPN on my router to say, hey, route all my traffic wherever I am back through my house or, through my ISP. So you have a lot more flexibility there. iCloud Private Relay is a consumer kind of everyday iPhone user kind of thing. And a VPN I view more as a bit of a power user type thing.
Yeah, but then even then you have to be careful with VPNs because not all of them are created equal. In fact, if you watch the news, sometimes you'll hear about this VPN or that VPN, being controlled by a government somewhere, and they're actually just collecting data on you. So
yeah,
be careful when you pick a VPN. This episode of Mac Power Users is brought to you by Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/MPU to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using the code MPU. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or scaling your business, Squarespace gives you everything you need to claim your domain, showcase your offerings with a professional website, grow your brand, and get paid all in one place. I've been using Squarespace since version 1. I'm a big fan. When I was a lawyer, I had a Squarespace website for my law firm, and my lawyer friends would call me to ask for a referral to my web guy. I'm holding up air quotes, web guy, because they thought I had paid thousands of dollars for it, but indeed, I just set it up over a weekend using Squarespace. And that's what I like about Squarespace. It's just so flexible. Whether you're running a restaurant or a law practice, you can build a great website with Squarespace. And these days, it's even easier. They've got that new Blueprint AI. Squarespace's AI-enhanced website builder lets you quickly and easily build a site bespoke to your business. Just input some basic information about your industry and goals. Plus, we already know and love Squarespace for their professionally designed and award-winning website templates. So however you start, you'll have beautiful design options and no experience required. And once you get that thing launched, they've got the built-in SEO tools. I can't tell you how much easier it is with Squarespace to do SEO. Nobody wants to build a beautiful website only for 0 people to see it. That's why every Squarespace website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more, so people find your site through search engine results. Don't take my word. Go check it out. Squarespace.com/MPU. You get a free trial. Don't need a credit card. You just sign up, start building a site. And when you're ready to launch, use the code MPU to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/MPU with the offer code MPU to get that 10% off your first purchase and show your support for the Mac Power users. Our thanks to Squarespace for their support of the Mac Power users and Olive Relay.
All right, David, we are recording this one a few days earlier than normal. I've got an event coming up, so it's weird recording on a Friday, but here we are. So I put out a call for questions on the MPU forums, and if you're not on the MPU forums, you should definitely go check it out. It's a great resource. No exaggeration here. More than one time over the years has it happened where I'm searching for I have this thing going on. How do I fix it? Or doing research for the show and end up on our own forums because the folks there are just absolutely great.
It's a great resource. It's really smart people and some very active users. And neither of us are that active on it. I guess I should just confront that. I'm really busy. I make a lot of stuff. And so I don't do that much on the forums. I do try and check in on occasion, though. But it is really impressive when you go in there and see what's happening.
Yep. It is a community resource. This is not like me and you using it for announcements or stuff, although we do a little bit of that. It is a group of people.
And I can tell you, it gets a lot of traffic.
It does.
It does. But Martin wrote in and said, just listen to your recent episode on iCloud.com. I'm curious to know why you're using iCloud or Dropbox versus a NAS. I know there are all the additional features in Apple One, but I would have thought that given the amount of data you produce, that NAS would be far more cost effective. I recently took the plunge on a NAS and set up my family members for a photo backup. I also run 2 businesses, so all the data is accessible offsite. All good. That was his question. Those are all good reasons to run a NAS. I didn't really think about it in terms of the content of that show, but that is a good point.
Yeah, the way the reason I use Dropbox and pay for it is collaboration. That I have tons of shared folders with tons of different people across a bunch of projects, and Dropbox is our joint file system for those things. Now, it is true, I also have things on Dropbox that I just want there, right? To either sync between my laptop and have access on my phone or my iPad. And, iCloud could do that. Dropbox could do that. And you can do those sorts of things with a NAS, but it is a bit trickier. There are, I know in Synology, there are clients for the iPhone, you have access to all your files. And for backup, it's great too, right? I just have a bunch of storage space on my network that I can just drag things over to. A lot of NAS products even offer Time Machine server support. So you flick a switch on and Macs can use the NAS as a Time Machine target over the network. You can do that with a Mac Mini or something like I do, but you can also do it with a NAS. That said, I have a little story for you. I have for a long time been on a MacBook Pro. I've gotten the 8 terabyte now twice on the M2 Pro and the M4 Max that I have now. And where that came from was I was coming from a Mac Pro where I had all my storage internal. And I really was at a place where I didn't want storage that was just on an external drive, right? Even if it's a SSD, right? I got to clone it or make sure it's backed up somehow. And I really wanted all my stuff with me all the time. And that worked really well until I was running up against the 8 terabytes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so I wasn't there yet, but I crossed the 6.5 terabyte threshold on my laptop. And I was like, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's a train, one of those feelings.
Well, you can just get the new Mac Studio with 16 terabytes.
I could do that, but I only have so many kidneys, right? I only have so many organs I can sell on Facebook Marketplace. And so I actually kind of did, this has been about a month and a half now. I did a bit of an audit of kind of where I was storage-wise. And I could have done several things. I could have offloaded to just a big drive at my desk and then, have a clone of that or have it pulled into Backblaze or something. So there was a backup of it. But I was also at a point where I wanted to, or the need also arose for some like additional Time Machine server usage in my household. So another MacBook Air came into the house as my kids are getting older for homework and those sorts of needs. And what I was doing through the Mac Mini, like that drive was basically full. And I was like, okay, like there's a lot of things happening here at once. I need some more storage. I needed more Time Machine server space for the household. And so I actually went this route. And for the first time in like 8 years, running a NAS. Now, I did not buy a Synology. I actually bought, and I know like someone emailed me like, you're a Ubiquiti fanboy. Like, yeah, maybe. They've got a NAS product that I purchased and chunked a bunch of hard drives in. And I moved about 4 terabytes of basically like cold storage off my laptop onto it. Moved all I think there's 3 MacBook Airs or 2 MacBook Airs and my wife's MacBook Pro backing up to it for Time Machine server over the network. And it's just like humming away in the other room in my office. And so I have done this, but it was more of a local storage situation. It will not, and I'm not planning on replacing something like Dropbox or iCloud Drive with this. Like I mentioned on the iCloud show, my wife and I share an iCloud Drive folder that's pretty big. It's got a bunch of documents and stuff in it. I could move that to the NAS, but one, we're already paying for the iCloud storage for other reasons. But secondly, for her, it's just a folder in Finder, and she doesn't have to like mount the NAS drive and like find the folder. And like, I want it to be easy for her. I don't mind is this on my laptop or is this on my NAS? But I don't want her to have to deal with it. And so,
yeah.
Like Ubiquiti, like they have a Mac app that sits in the menu bar that auto mounts the volumes for you. Like I don't have that on her laptop. Like I have it set up for the Time Machine server stuff, but she doesn't, like I don't think she's ever seen these volumes ever mounted on her Mac. And that's by design, that she doesn't have to worry about this. And I can access it from home. I can access it from afar because, away from the network because I have that set up as well. But those aren't files and folders that I need on a regular basis. Like my working data set is still on the laptop. And it means in 2 or 3 years, when I buy a laptop again, I will not buy the 8 terabyte again. I'll be able to fit in 4 comfortably.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there you go. There is a NAS in the mix. I hadn't told anybody.
You just had to wait for Ubiquiti to make one.
It is really nice.
Nice. Couple points here. First of all, I think there's probably a Ubiquiti episode on Mac Power Users because you keep talking about it. I actually don't even really understand what the Ubiquiti thing's about, but I know it's like a network system, but it's also a lifestyle, I guess. I don't know.
It can be.
I think we need to dig deep on this at some point because I think people are curious. I for one, maybe we should do that not around tax season because I could see this costing money. So let's wait. But either way, let's put that on the list. The other thing is, I always go back up and down this too because recently I talked about should I upgrade or not, and the reason I didn't, frankly, was because of that 8 terabyte drive, and I really really like having it. As much as I hate how much Apple charges, and it seems ridiculous how much they charge. It's so nice having it all in one. I mean, it's fast. It's all there. Like everything works with my cloud backup system, and like it is very convenient to have a big internal drive.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunately not bumping up against it like you are. But I also had a little bit of a reckoning, and I ended up dumping a lot of my production files because we make over 100 videos, just tutorial videos a year in the labs, plus all the meetups and stuff. And then the field guides are about 100 videos per field guide. So we make a lot of video, but I don't need to keep all the QuickTime and all the, Final Cut and all this stuff. All I need really is the final product.
Yeah.
And by doing that, my storage went back down to just south of 6 terabytes. And I'm comfortable with that. I think it'll work. Maybe someday it'll be a problem and I'll have to do a NAS or something. But I had one years ago and it just felt like to me like it was just extra work. You know what I mean? It was like there was always something going on with it. And to answer Martin's question, that's why I don't mind, paying iCloud and Dropbox and like having extra drives around the house. And I'm sure NAS solutions have got a lot more, reliable in the years since I used one.
And that's one reason I went with the Ubiquiti is like the Synology. They're great products. I really like Synologies, but it's a whole computer, and that can be great if you want it to do computery things, like you want it to download TV shows for you or sync with a Dropbox. But like I just wanted a bunch of storage on the network, and the UNAS is what they call it. The UNAS Pro is what they call it. The UNAS Pro is not a computer. Like it's just a bunch of hard drives on your network. Now, the downside of that is that backing it up is harder than on a Synology, because Synology you can like install applications and like, back up to this or that. So what I had to do, because the UNAS software currently, it can back up to Google Drive or an SMB share, neither of which really makes sense for me. Like I don't, the Google Drive got expensive pretty quickly because I have a Mac Mini that's on all the time. Is I installed ARQ, which is this really powerful backup program, and it backs up the Synology, the UNAS volumes to Backblaze B2, which is like their S3 competitor. And I'm paying just a few dollars a month to back all that stuff up to B2. And the thing's got 7 hard drives in it. Like I could lose, the way I have it set up is I could lose 2 before my data was at risk. So I don't expect to have to go to B2 and get my data back, but it is backing up over Arc to B2. And that's been a really good experience for me. I've really been happy with how that worked out. But if you move to a NAS, that definitely that's a complicating factor, I think.
Yeah. And like my situation is so much easier. It's just like I've got a slow, I'm holding up air quotes, SSD and an OWC enclosure where I've got a carbon copy cloner, clone the drive every night. Plus I've got a couple slow SSDs and another enclosure where I have Time Machine running. Mm-hmm. And then I have 2 8 terabyte OWC spinning drives, and I keep one offsite and one here. And every month I just copy the whole drive to it. And but the actual process is so easy. And then like when I go on vacation or I leave town, I have my little MacBook Air, but I bring the carbon copy clone in the bag.
Okay.
And so if I get there and I need something that's on my home machine, I've got it with me. So I don't even, it's a very simple process, but that's the benefit of it. But man, Apple really sticks you when you want to get a lot of storage. And I just, if they didn't do that, I feel like so many more people would see the benefit of this. But yeah, I get why they do it. I like Clark's question to us. Do you gents ever get sick or bored of talking about this stuff? Clark.
Nope.
What are you talking about? I jump out of bed every day. Guys, look, I have a storied past. I was a fancy professional. Now I get to talk about this stuff for a living. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, Clark. No, I don't get tired of it. And it's always changing, and there's always new stuff. And it's like, just when you think you got it figured out, AI shows up, right? It's like, it's so fun. Yeah, this is all good. I like that you asked the question, Clark.
I do too. And that's not to say there aren't seasons or like you're more or less annoyed with something in tech, but it is so much fun to get to do this. It's the best job I've ever had. It's the longest job I've ever had. And just super fortunate to get to do it. But no, I love prepping for the shows. I love recording the shows. I love writing about this stuff. Like it is so much fun.
Yeah. If this ever dries up, I am so screwed because there will never be a job like this. Mm-hmm. KJW wrote, other than for evaluation review purposes, do you think you would consider a foldable iPhone for your normal daily usage? I'm so glad he asked this question because I am fold curious.
Me too.
The rumors are starting. It's like, it's supposed to be, I think The last rumor I heard was like it's 5.5 inches with a screen on the outside, and you open it up and it's like basically an iPad mini size screen, but not dimensionally, And like, wow, that sounds really interesting to me. If Apple did it right, I mean, I'm sure it's got all sorts of asterisks involved, right? You fold the screen, how's that going to hold up? Is it going to be thicker in your pocket? All that stuff. There's a huge bunch of questions, but it sounds to me the rumors seem to be getting hot and heavy. So maybe this is an actual product that's going to show up in the next few years, and I'm going to be sorely tempted.
Me too. I'm super interested in this. I think thinking about my personal use, like having something that's phone size that then I could fold open to watch a video or read on is really compelling to me. And even I think for like evaluation and review purposes, like I think it would have to be normal daily usage. I think for a long time, like something like this is such a fundamental change to a product that we all use every day. Like this would not be a review that I could write in a week. It would be impressions maybe after a week or two. But if this comes out, I think it would definitely find its way into my life. And honestly, I kind of feel that way about the rumored thin phone for this year, even though I love having the Pro and like all the cameras and stuff. If the, 17 Air, doing quotes with my fingers because we're not sure if that's the name, that could be such a fundamental difference too. Like I feel like that may be the one I go with this fall. Now we'll see what happens, but folding is such a big deal. I think for us to really understand it would take a lot of time. And and it comes with I have so many questions about it. Like what happens when you open it? Like, are you running iPad OS in there? Like what? Like it's just so many interesting things come up when we talk about this. I'm really intrigued.
There's a bunch of folding rumors now. They were also talking about a folding iPad, but I think we just got to see what they do, and Apple's very good at giving you the story behind the product.
Yep.
I also think it's going to be very expensive when you think about it. It's going to have essentially 3 screens, 2 inside and 1 outside, and I do worry about camera quality because I really like taking pictures with my phone. And if it has to get thinner so it can fold, does that mean the cameras get compromised? That's frankly my fear about the iPhone Air that seems imminent this year as well. Is like, how bad do the cameras get in order to make it thinner?
Mm-hmm. It's it's definitely a concern.
Yeah. I'm not as interested in the idea of an iPhone Air as I am a folding iPhone, but like you, I would be tempted, honestly, just to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mark wrote in, David sounded on the edge about ScreenFlow. Where's he stand now? I think it might have been the last feedback episode. Recently, I kind of went on a little bit of a rant about ScreenFlow. This is the production software I use to make screencasts, and they have not updated in a very long time, and it kind of feels abandoned, but now there's a new beta out, so I guess it's not, but either way, I have left it in the rearview mirror. I rage quit the app. It doesn't happen to me very often, especially something I've been using over 10 years. But like, I was just trying to do some basic stuff, and again, it just started not doing what it's supposed to do, and I ended up spending like 3 hours to do something simple because the software wasn't working. And I thought, I could be spending 3 hours trying to make this thing work, or I could spend 3 hours learning a new app.
Yeah.
I downloaded all of the screencasting apps that I could find. And I ended up, surprisingly, with Screen Studio. Screen Studio is not the biggest and baddest screencasting app, but it does a really good job of capture. It uses a bit of artificial intelligence to build in some nice smooth animation, and it makes it really easy to export it at a high degree of quality. So the whole system for me has changed now, and it's kind of fun for me to have a new workflow after doing the same thing for all the time. What I liked about ScreenFlow, what drew me to, is it did everything. You could do titles, you could add live video to it. It was a top to bottom screencasting solution. I could tweak the audio and do everything I wanted right in that one app. This doesn't do that. This is just really good at capturing the screen. And what that means is now my workflow is more complicated. I capture in Screen Studio, and then I move it over to Final Cut, where I do, all the post-production stuff. JF, who does edits for me as well, he does it in DaVinci Resolve. So we both use a different kind of secondary app, but it means the titling is better. It's actually a better product, but it takes more work now. And I think it was time, and the videos look good. I wasn't saying anything publicly about it because I wanted to get more time with it. I didn't want to say I was going to use this and give up on it, but I recorded over 80 videos for an upcoming Alfred Field Guide, all in Screen Studio. I've now recorded a ton of MaxMarkey Labs videos in Screen Studio, and there are things I don't like about the app. I'm not going to get into it all, but it gives me what I need, a reliable way to record the screen in my voice, and then it adds extra work for me to make the final product, but I think the final product's actually better. So there's your answer.
And I would imagine it's one of those things that no one could guess which video was the first one, right?
They could.
Feel that
way?
They
look better.
They look better. Okay.
I mean, they're more active. Screen Studio has a really nice fluid animation, and it follows your mouse. So when you click on things, it zooms in and does that, and it makes it very easy to add that kind of animation. That would be very time intensive to do that in ScreenFlow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at my old ScreenFlow screencast, they're all very static. It's kind of one shot, and there are very few zooms and pans. In this, there's more of that, and I think it looks more dynamic. So you would be able to tell.
Okay.
And also, frankly, the transitions are better. The titling's better. The headers, in and out are better because I'm using a professional app, Final Cut, to do them. Mm-hmm. ScreenFlow did that stuff, but it didn't do it as well as Final Cut does.
Okay. Cornchip asks, if you had a redo on your workspaces, would you make them the same sizes? Anything else you would change?
I honestly, Cornchip is one of my favorite contributors in the forums because always there, always interesting comments. This could be a whole show if I was allowed to.
You are not. Would you change something about your space?
I love my space. I love it. No, I don't think I would change anything. I mean, I was so intentional with it. There's no windows on a north-facing wall, which somebody told me has decreased the value of my home, and I don't care because now I have the perfect space. And I guess the one thing I would do if I had to do over again, but I was kind of up against the wall in terms of the money I was spending, is I would have gone even a little harder on sound dampening. Like if you read about it, there's people, they do 2 layers of drywall, and there's lots of ways to make a room even deader. And this room's a little too hot. I wish it was absorb sound a little better. And I've done things. I've added, equipment to the room to kind of absorb it better. And I guess I sound okay right now. I don't know if you're listening. Let me know. I would have liked to do that, but in hindsight, I didn't have any extra money to spend to do that stuff. So I don't think I really would have done much different. The one thing I did at the very end when we were planning it was, with the way the room was set, we were originally going to make it 2/3 of the size it actually is. And I just decided to go ahead and spend the extra to make it bigger. Mm-hmm. And I'm super glad I did that because it really gives me a lot of room to work because I'm shooting a lot more live video than I ever had. And it's just really nice having the extra room.
Yeah. So for me, I had my original studio space, now, 8 years ago or something. And then during COVID, a little more than doubled it with a new room. The existing studio was an existing structure that we just renovated. And then this new room is new construction. And I am very happy with how that turned out. I really felt like I squeezed everything I could have. And the old side is it's 10 by 12. It's not a big space. And I had really dialed that in of everything in here has a purpose. It can only live where it lives, through many iterations of the desk is here, the shelves go here, this type of shelf, that type of thing. And with the new side, I was able to take all that I had learned and improve upon it. So one thing I wanted more natural light because I didn't have any in the old building was a concrete bunker. And this new one has beautiful, huge windows that serve no purpose and sometimes are actually a pain when it comes to production. But I love having the daylight. It made the building much taller. It made the building more noticeable from the street even, which I didn't really want, but it was a trade-off I wanted to make. And I'm very happy with it. It's more than double the space that I had, and it's great. When people come in town, they have space to work. I have room to spread out. I've got room for the collection, and I can be sort of mid-project and still like have my desk to myself. Like I have a workbench and a second table, and like though that extra sort of working space has been awesome.
Yeah. And did you see how he slid in there? He can store all his old Macs without making Mary mad at him.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot in the attic, but they're not in the house. They're out here or they're in the attic.
Yeah. So the way I handled light was I do have big windows, but they just don't face south. And so I never have direct sunlight, and that gives me enough light. So yeah, I don't want to indulge myself on this, but I really love my space, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I still think about things I might want to change. I'm right now in the midst of building a desk shelf. You know how like these companies sell the shelf you put under your Mac or under your screen, but they're very expensive. It's just kind of shocking to me how much they get for them. And I'm a woodworker. I can buy a piece of walnut and cut some joints. So I'm actually in the process of building my shelf. I'm also going to be adding wheels to my computer desk. I think I can roll it around. I think that'd be fun to be able to change position when I want.
Okay.
So I still got stuff going on. But yeah, thanks for Corn Chip. Thanks for giving me the chance to yak about my studio, because that is something I like to do. We had several questions about how we name things. So I thought it'd be fun. Let's just talk about what we name our things. Like, what's your Wi-Fi network called?
Yeah. So my Wi-Fi network name is very simple. It is the street that my house is on, and then net. So I don't live on Main Street, but if I did, it would be MainNet. It's straightforward. Nice. It's been that way since I moved here through several iterations of my Wi-Fi. Because as we're going to talk about, renaming a Wi-Fi network really stinks.
Yeah. I named mine back in the Seinfeld days. That's how old it is. And I named it Sparmerica, like Cramerica. And
awesome.
I really wish I hadn't. I want to change it. I actually came up with some names that I thought would be good. You want to hear them?
Please.
Okay. One was, and listener Russell wrote in that he named his Obi-Wan Kenobi with W-A-N, which I thought was great.
That's really good.
But before I read this, I had written down Obi-Wi-Fi Nobi, which I thought was also good. But I think Russell wins that one. I also was thinking Rebel Base, and then the one that really stuck with me is ArteNet, but that gets a little hippie. But the problem is I can't rename my network. You want to tell them why, Steven?
It's fine for your Apple devices, but for Internet of things like cameras and sensors and things that have to connect to your Wi-Fi, you will spend the rest of your life updating them.
Yeah, it would be misery. That's why. And my family, things would just stop working in the house.
Yep.
And the lights wouldn't go on. Everything would break. And just the thought of like spending 2 weeks getting that fixed just because I changed the name of the network makes me want to, throw something through the window. So if we do this show in another 10 years, it'll probably still be Sparmerica.
It would be easier for me if my street name wasn't in it, because anytime I share a screenshot of something, I'm like, is my Wi-Fi name in it? Because I don't want to give up my street name. So it would be easier for me if it were something else, but I am not ever going to change it. Even if we move, David, I think I would keep it the same. I'd name it after our old street, because it'd be such a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So that's our Wi-Fi. What about devices?
Yeah, mine is not very inventive. I basically do ISMH, which is, username I've used forever, plus whatever it is. So my laptop is ISMH Book Pro 14. My phone is ISMH 16 Pro. It's not real inventive.
Yeah, that was kind of boring, but
I know.
I feel like it was kind of on brand. you know,
You
you're
saying I'm
very,
boring?
yeah, no, it's just you're very accurate, right?
Okay.
Former Apple genius. You're not going to mess around. It's going to describe which device it is and that it's yours.
Accurate, not boring, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Good
Well, I
save.
wish I'd never said that. All right. What about when you say you name your machine? That could mean different things, right?
Yeah.
Do you name it for the network, or do you just name the hard drive? What do you do when you name a machine?
Yeah. I name it in system settings, general about, like, so
Yeah.
it shows up on the network. That Macintosh HD, like, it's hilarious that it's the boot drive of the Mac is still called that. One, no Macs have booted from hard drives in a long time.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know.
Apple doesn't use Macintosh anywhere. Like, it's the Mac basically everywhere. If you go to About Finder, it's the Macintosh desktop experience, which is just incredible. But Macintosh HD is really old, and I don't want to change it for a couple of reasons. One, I like that it's kind of a throwback, but you less now. And if you're better at your computer than I used to be, you're okay. But if you have any scripts or anything that like depend on the entire path and you change your boot drive's name, you got problems. Now, you shouldn't write your scripts that way, but I still have some old stuff floating around. And I think I'm a little afraid it would break some stuff. So Macintosh HD, but yeah, I just name it in system settings. And I feel like that's the right answer for me, at least.
I totally agree. And if Apple ever does stop calling it Macintosh HD, it will break my heart just a little bit.
Me too.
Just a little bit. Because I remember the days. That was the thing, right?
Yep.
And the word Macintosh there meant so much because every other computer sucks so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you just saw that Macintosh HT is like wrapping yourself in a warm blanket. Historically, I named my computers after jazz artists. So
Okay.
I always, whenever I had a big one, like an iMac or Mac Studio here, that would be Mingus, after Charles Mingus, a bass player, big guy, played a big instrument. And so my big one was always Mingus, and my little one, which would be a laptop, was always Dizzy or Bird, just kind of depending on how I felt when I got the device, after Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. Somehow I fell off the wagon. When this came in, I looked and I have David's MacBook Air, which I think was a default name that Apple put in. And then the studio is Sparky's Mac Studio. So I don't even have a consistent convention between the two of them. I felt very sad that I had somehow stopped bringing this little moment of delight to my device name. So I promptly renamed them. So
Good.
now I have Mingus and Dizzy back.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for asking a question, because I somehow fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
What about iOS devices? Are you doing anything there?
Yeah. Again, it's just ISMH plus whatever it is. So like ISMH Pad Mini for the iPad Mini, right? Accurate, not boring.
Yeah. Forever, my iPhone has been R2D2. Though one I carry now is R2D2. It doesn't tell me which iPhone it is or anything. It's just, I just like the idea of R2 was always there for Luke, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Helping hand. I feel like if I was about to be thrown into a pit with a monster, that my phone would throw me a lightsaber. It would if it could.
That's right.
So R2D2, and I just call the iPad Holocron, which is a Star Wars reference too. It's like a source of knowledge, and I thought that'd be kind of a good name. I thought about C3PO, but C3PO is kind of annoying, and I didn't want to name my iPad after C3PO. I considered once, I went through a big Lord of the Rings phase last year. I read all the books again, and man, Tolkien can write. I'll just say that. If you've never read the books, read them.
They're incredible. The world building, the dude invented languages. Like it's unreal.
I mean, the movies are really good, but the poetry of the book, because I read the book when I was like 15, and I went back and read them again last year. It had been, like a little water went under the bridge since I read it last. Sure. And I liked them even more the second time. But so for a minute, I was thinking last September, what if I just name my iPhone Frodo and my iPad Sam? But then I ultimately didn't do that, but I thought about it. So
yeah, I like
I've
that.
given it thought. Yeah, I've given it thought.
I think you just need a system. I have seen where people use names of planets, or very common, I think, is characters out of your your favorite fiction. Like, you just need a system, and maybe I'll get more exciting about mine over time.
I did at one point. I was using like Star Wars ships names, like I had Red 5 and the Falcon.
Oh, that's good.
Know?
Yeah.
But I just like the iPhone. To me is like my little buddy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one day when Siri gets good, it'll be even more so. But I just like the idea of calling it R2D2. Boy, did you see that article this week about the internal stuff at Apple over Siri?
Yeah. There were a couple. I'll have some links in the show. Yeah, it's a mess, man.
Yeah. I actually came away reading the article feeling better about it all. It's like, it sounds like it's been a mess a long time, which explains why we've been complaining so long. Although I do wonder, because I know Tim listens to us in the gym every week.
He does.
Tim, we told you about this.
Yeah.
You knew this was going on just from Mac Power Users. I don't know how this happened. But the promising thing of these articles is it sounds like there's a new sheriff in town and they're actually doing the right things now. So I felt it was actually, I was disappointed in what seemed like indifference to a big piece of the platform for a long time, but I was encouraged by, it looks like action now. So hopefully that's true.
Siri, man. This episode of Mac Power Users is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring the right person for your team is so important. If you get it wrong, you can expect stress for everyone involved. Thankfully, Indeed is there to help you get it right the first time. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all that you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Their sponsored jobs help you stand out fast and hire fast. With Indeed's sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates. So you can reach the people you want faster, and that makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data worldwide, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. I love that Indeed gives you all the tools you need to find the right person. It's a complicated job market right now. Finding the person that's going to fit your team with the right qualifications and the right experience is critical. Indeed makes the hiring process easier for you. And with sponsored jobs, there are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. And how fast does this all happen? Well, in the minute or so I've been talking, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So there's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/MPU. That's Indeed, INDEED. Indeed.com/MPU. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. Our thanks to Indeed for the support of the show.
I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about what we're calling around my house the Sparks Family Health Initiative.
Okay.
So we've been doing, we're on a journey here. The Labs members know this, but I haven't really said much publicly. But last December, my wife had a heart attack, and she's okay. It's all good. You know, she got a brand new stent. As my daughter says, Mom got her heart detailed, but it could have been really bad. It was the situation was not good. Let's just leave that.
Yeah.
And Daisy and I are not gluttonous. We're pretty careful about what we eat. We've been going to Pilates for a long time. We do stuff, but the doctors kind of decided, well, you know, you're just genetically predisposed to this stuff. You shouldn't have that kind of blockage at this age. So you can't be really careful. And I don't want my wife to do this alone. So we just decided we're going to change the game here in terms of health. And, I wanted to share some of the apps and stuff we've been doing because I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. And like I said, don't need to write me telling me how sorry you are. She's doing great. Daisy's, in fact, she feels better, right? Because when you go from 99% blockage to no blockage, suddenly you can go up and down stairs a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
So she's good, but we want to make sure that never happens again. So the first thing is, I've talked about Food Noms before, the tracker, I love it even more. It came up last week with Kim. I almost talked about it last week, but I thought, well, I want to go into the whole thing, and I don't want to waste Kim's time. But Food Noms to me just continues to be the best food tracking app. I went, when we started on this journey in December, I went and looked at all the competitors, and I'm like, no, because I was willing to switch over.
Sure.
Like at this point, I'm willing to spend money to get the health thing figured out. And if there's a better one, I'll get it. I just want to, once again, endorse Food Noms. I think it's great. I think the model's good. The pricing makes sense, and it's really good at tracking food. Another app that we have discovered that we really love is called Yucca, YUCA. Have you ever heard of this one, Stephen?
I have not. This was new to me.
This is excellent because, you know, one of the things that you want to do when you get more healthy is be careful about what you put in your mouth. And this is an app you take to the market or the store and you point it at something you want to buy, and it gives you a thumbs up or thumbs down. Tells you if this is good or bad. You know, I guess it's Yucca's opinion, right?
Yeah.
But they explain the basis of their opinion. Like, this has way too much sugar or whatever. And it gives you healthy alternatives to what you're pointing at. And it is shocking to me the number of foods you will go to the store that look healthy. I mean, there's a whole science to making packaging that looks healthy. You know, I guess it starts with a label that looks like it was drawn by a child. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you know, they've got a whole thing they do to make it look like it's healthy. And,
Definitely.
you know, some person is making it out of their garage with only whole grains or whatever. And it's shocking how many of those you point at, and Yucca says, oh no, don't get this. This isn't good. You know? So I recommend folks get this. It's a weird business model. They give you limited access, but they want you to share it. And if you share it with one person, you get unlimited access to the whole app. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. But, you know, a lot of these health related things are that way. They're like supported by somebody who's really wants you to be healthy, and they're not looking to make a lot of money. They just want to get the information out. So Yucca is another one I'd recommend. I think a lot of my wife's problem is sleep. You know, she's at a certain age. She's been going through menopause, hasn't been sleeping great. And so we've got all on with this app called Sleep Plus Plus from a developer you've probably never heard of. And
it's a nice looking website. Great. Man, who built this website?
Yeah. Full disclosure, Stephen does some work with them. But Sleep Plus Plus is it was my wife's health, so I was willing to use whatever. Right? I looked at them all. You guys nailed it. Sleep Plus Plus is great.
It's really
so
good.
That's been another good one. And then to take it to the next level, we went down the rabbit hole of blood glucose monitoring. Have you ever heard of this?
I have. This is something that I think people with certain health conditions were using, but it seems like it's much more approachable now for anyone to kind of do a check-in. So yeah, I really want to hear about this.
Yeah, it's got a lot more accessible lately. And so what this is, you know, everybody talks about blood glucose being the holy grail of the Apple Watch, right? The ability to get your blood glucose level and give you feedback. Like for people with diabetes, this is a huge thing. They've got to constantly monitor it. I'm not diabetic or even close to it, but the doctor says your blood sugar is higher than it's been, and Daisy too. And so I wanted to get my arms around it. And there is now a consumer product called Stelo. I think there is a couple competitors, but Stelo is the one my doctor told me to try. So we bought these things, and it's a little like kind of quarter-sized device that you put on your arm. And when you put it on, it pokes you, and I guess it puts it pokes you I guess there's a needle in you when you're wearing it. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I frankly didn't go down that rabbit hole too far. I didn't want to know.
Yeah, there's a very small needle.
Yeah. What I can tell you is I wore one for 4 weeks, and It never bothered me. You almost forget it's there, but you put it in the back of your arm. And what you get is they've got this great little app, and it tells you constantly, I think it pulls your blood glucose level every 5 minutes. And it's really interesting to see, like, oh, if I eat spaghetti, this is what happens versus if I eat, this, it's just a really good data source. And it gives you a real good history of your data. And then I went for a checkup and showed my doctor, and he says, okay, you're looking pretty good, and then, so ultimately after a month, I stopped wearing it. Right. Daisy's still wearing hers a little longer. She wants to track a little bit further. I have lost like 13 pounds since this all started. I have this idea when I get to 20 pounds, I'm going to wear it again for another month to see if the numbers have changed,
Okay.
So I've got a couple of them in the drawer here, and it's about $50 a month to wear one of these things. It's not hugely detrimental, and it's a good source of data if you want. And it's interesting just to see how sleep, exercise, and diet change your blood sugar level. It's kind of fun to see that if you're a data guy, right?
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, and this isn't an app, but it was a listener who turned me on. I think a Labs member actually who turned me on to this guy Michael Greger, and he wrote a book, How Not to Diet, and he's just a doctor who spent a bunch of time figuring out ways to eat better. And spoiler alert, he really pushes plant-based. So we actually do a lot more plant-based eating, and just general, we're both feeling better and making progress on it. So it's been really good. But there's definitely a technology angle to all this stuff.
Yeah, and that's where the conversation of like what Apple could do in the health app gets pretty interesting. Like,
yeah,
all of this data, like, tell me what it means, give me some explanation. My line is, I don't want it providing medical, like the replicate your doctor language really kind of set me off in Gurman's report. But yeah, like, what do these numbers actually mean? Like, is there a video I could watch that explains, like, this is sort of an average range for this type of person? Like, the education, the trend building, that sort of stuff, I think there's a lot of room for. And the glucose monitoring in particular, Apple's been interested in for years. For years, there's been reporting that they want to do that with the Apple Watch and haven't been able to do it. And in the meantime, you have all these companies offering, I'm going to put in air quotes, like consumer grade glucose monitoring. Like, you don't need a doctor's order to go, you're not picking this stuff up. I don't think at a drugstore, right? It's like, you can just get it and use it for a while. And so the more information we have is good, but it needs to be understandable. And you can take it all and show it to your doctor, but like, where's the line and how Apple make that better? All that sort of wrapped up in that broader conversation right now, I think.
Yeah, totally. And like the way Stelo works is you go online, you order it, they mail it to you, and you install it. It lasts 2 weeks. There's a battery in it. It's got to transmit data, right? And after 2 weeks, you yank it off, and it's not painful. Again, none of this is painful. I think a lot of people hear blood glucose monitoring, they're like, oh, I don't want to stick that thing in my arm.
Yeah.
The way you apply it, it's in like a little canister. You push a button, it pops onto you. You don't even feel it. You don't even feel a poke. And then it's got a very good Band-Aid. That's the worst part is pulling the Band-Aid off at the end. Mm-hmm. And then, and then you put a new one on and you're good for another 2 weeks. And it really is a ton of data. And my big disappointment, and my doctor's great. I love him. He's been taking care of me for a long time, but I go see him and he's got to see 20 other people that day, right? So here's this nerd showing him his app saying, hey, here's all my blood glucose. Can you tell me what this all means? And he's like, he looks at the average number. He's like, oh, you're good. That's that's the extent of his feedback, right? And then like Michael Hyatt came on the show and said he made a GPT that he puts his health stuff into. And like, I'm super tempted to do that because I've got all this data now and I would love to get some insight to it from something that knows more than I do about it, right? But do I want to send my medical stuff to GPT? I'm not sure, Mm-hmm. So that's why when I hear Apple thinking about doing something like this privately, that's why I'm kind of on the bandwagon for it. But yeah, I this stuff has been really good for us, and it's been fun to kind of explore these apps, and there's a lot of good stuff. The other thing I would say is, Fantasy Hike and Bend, which came up on a show a few weeks ago. I'm in, man. I've left the Shire. I've got that thing installed now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I've done is, so Daisy and I got into Pilates like about 1.5 years ago, but now we are like, I'm going like 4 times a week. And it's weird because it's mainly like school teachers. Like there aren't many men at Pilates. And it's funny because every time a new guy comes in, I always go and introduce myself to him because like, hey, I'm one of the only men here. But guys that are listening who say, oh, I'm too manly for Pilates, that stuff will crush you. I don't know what to say, but at least for me. So I do that. And then the other thing we started doing is Liana Lehua, an occasional guest here, and I are both Disney fans. So we do once a week, we do what we call Disney Wrecking, where we load a backpack as heavy as we can make it, and we walk like 10 miles through Disneyland. It's really fun too. So I've got some good health stuff going on, and so does Daisy. She's doing great. I'm just super happy that she's okay, and we're both kind of like taking care of this stuff.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your health apps?
Yeah. So for me, Sleep Plus Plus, like I wear my watch basically every night. I really find value in sleep tracking. Sometimes I get that question like, why would you do that? Or is it worth wearing a watch at night? Well, wearing the watch at night doesn't bother me. You get used to that pretty quickly. But for me, it's a data point of like how I'm sort of doing. Like if I'm midweek and I feel like I'm dragging, I can look at that graph and be like, oh, I slept pretty bad 2 nights ago and that's catching up with me. Right. And for me, and I think a lot of other people, like your anxiety level and your sleep are really closely linked. They are for me. And so it can be an indication of like, how am I doing anxiety wise? Like sleep is a factor in that. So those are really the 2 reasons I sleep track.
One of the things that drew me to Sleep Plus Plus is that it gives you kind of like I forget what they call it, like it's like a ready rating or like
yes.
What do you call
a readiness score?
Readiness score, where it just says, overall, based on the amount of sleep you had, you're like 80% okay for today, or in some cases 30%. And it's like, oh, this is going to be a bad day. And it's right. It's like, it really does tell. Yeah. And it all comes down to getting enough sleep. Yeah. The other one I'll say you guys, cause you help them out, is Pedometer Plus Plus. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of that one yet. I don't do that much step tracking. I just look at the rings. Should I be doing a pedometer thing too? What do you think?
Yeah, I find the step tracking useful for a couple of reasons. One, it's sort of, again, because it runs in the background on your watch and your phone.
Yeah.
As a stand-in for the activity ring a little bit, and especially for somebody who works at a desk, right? Like I work now. I do stand at my desk some, but like I'm basically in my office basically all day, every day. And so the step counting is a way to look at my overall activity kind of on a given time frame. And I also, like, one of my favorite activities is to go for a walk, like through my neighborhood, sometimes like 2, 3, 4 miles at a time. And I use it to track those walks. Pedometer Plus Plus also has a lot of hiking features. Underscore is a big, like, go out in the mountains and hike, and you'll hear from me in a week kind of guy, which is awesome. But I'm not a big hiker, but like there are lots of great features in there for that. So that could be a reason to check it out. But again, like Sleep Plus Plus, it is a factor in kind of my overall picture of how I'm doing. And it works really well for that, because it syncs with the Apple Watch and the phone and kind of figures out what you're doing. So Pedometer Plus Plus and Sleep Plus Plus for me, both super important. Basically any other workout tracking, I'm just using Apple's Fitness or Workouts app. They changed the name. It's Fitness. It used to be called Activity.
Yeah.
So lifting weights, going on a bike ride, that sort of stuff is all tracked in Fitness. I used to use Strava a lot more for tracking my bike rides, but I found that I didn't really care about the social aspect of it anymore. Like, still have it installed, and like, if a friend of mine goes on a ride and like tells me about it, I'll go look up their ride and like see how they did. And for big rides, I will run it. So like, I'm planning on a couple weeks, actually on Memorial Day, to do a long bike ride, and I'll probably run Strava for that. But a mountain bike trip after work, or riding my bike around the neighborhood or to run errands, I'll just track it in the Apple built-in stuff. And the big kicker for that, and I talked about this when it came out on the show, is the ability to like mount your bike on your handlebars and your phone to mount your phone on your bike handlebars. Excuse me.
Yeah, that would be a lot easier.
That would be really something. And it basically turns your phone into a bicycle computer. And you can see distance and speed, and there's a bunch of different views you can swipe between. And I love that feature. And that's really kind of what pushed me over the edge in terms of basically just using Apple stuff for cycling.
How do you mount your phone to your bike? What do you use?
Yeah, I use the Peak Design system for this. So they have a case and it clips in.
Yeah.
And I have one of their out front mounts on each of my 3 bikes. So whatever bike I'm on, I can throw the phone on there and be able to track it.
I use the same one. Because it's got a physical latch.
Yep.
So it's just not coming off if you
It's
put
in
it on
there. It is in there.
And for someone who crashes their bike as much as you do, I think that's good.
I mean, it does kind of put my phone out there, out in the world, but that's okay. I like having my phone available to me. And then lastly, and they are a sponsor of some other shows on Relay, but I really like Fitbod for weightlifting. You tell it what equipment you have, and you can say, hey, I'd like to focus on this or that, or you can let it build a workout for you based on your past, and it ramps up the intensity over time. I've used Fitbod for years and have been really happy with it. And anytime I'm in my garage lifting weights, which is not as often as it should be, running Fitbod to kind of build those workouts.
One of the nice things about my big studio is I can push everything out of the way, and I use the Apple Fitness Plus workouts. Mm-hmm. So I do that pretty often too.
Yeah, they're great. Really, the fitness stuff is what holds the Apple Watch like in my orbit. We've talked over the years on the show how I kind of have seasons where like I just don't want to wear the Apple Watch and want to go to something else, whether for simplicity or just like want to change. And that I still feel that way sometimes, but what keeps the Apple Watch on my wrist is this health and fitness tracking, both like I'm going on a workout, track it, but also the background stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
if my heart rate is like wildly out of whack with my activity, I would like to know that. That sort of stuff, that history over time has gotten more important to me over the years. And so the Apple Watch is a permanent, a permanent fixture in my life because of that. Now, it also makes me really wish, I've talked about this before as well, that Apple would just make a bracelet, like the Nike Fuel Band back in the day, which I loved, like that I could wear on one wrist and wear a regular watch. I would do that. I would give up notifications to have like fitness band, and I could wear like a weird Casio from the 80s, but Apple hasn't done that. So the Apple Watch it is.
Yeah. Now that Daisy's been through this, I am like, if she's walking around the house without an Apple Watch on, I go find it and make her wear it. I just feel like it's just like such a key. If you've had heart problems, I mean, please get one,
And if someone, I gave an Apple Watch to a family member after they had a fall. I was like, you're going to wear this. And they do. And like, it gives me that peace of mind. And, and the car crash detection, which I tested in real life. Like all of these things, like build a really powerful story.
Thanks for doing that, by the way.
Yeah. Did it for the I didn't do it for the content. Terrifying.
All right, let's talk about stuff we're playing with.
Yeah. So I put some stuff in Notion, and then I came back to it, and you had filled out your section of this topic, and the sound I made that came out of my mouth was like, ah! Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I bought a thing, Stephen. I bought a thing.
Okay. You bought a second monitor, which we'll get to what you bought in a second. But your history here, so for years, we both had iMac Pros, which is like still like one of the best computers I've ever owned. And you at some point had a display on each side of it, and they were like vertical.
It had ears. Yeah, it had ears.
And then you moved into your current space, and you got an XDR, and so you had a giant screen, you went to one screen, but now you're back, and it's vertically mounted. Like, what are you doing? Why do you need so many pixels?
I kept preaching how one is enough. I don't need any more.
Yeah, and here you are.
I have a friend, local listener friend, who had a XDR on a Visa mount, and he wanted to switch to a stand, and he offered it to me, and I said, "Yeah, sure, let me try it." So I took it. I had it up for like a day, and I'm like, "I'm going to give it back to you. I don't want it. And then like a couple of months later, I was working and I just needed it. And I called him. I said, "Do you still have it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it." So I bought it off of him. And so I've got a second monitor. Part of me really didn't want one. And I'll tell you the reason why is because it is just so much light and pixels, right? Mm-hmm. The reason I have what I'd ideally like is to be able to like just like use it selectively, but because I still don't love having it, to tell you the truth. I reluctantly bought it, but it's so useful. Like when I recorded all these Alfred videos, having the outline just off the camera screen to the right. I'd always use my iPad for it, but it's not very big, and that it's not consistently connected, and I just wanted something that was reliable, and having it be an actual Mac screen is so much better. So I have this screen, and I still don't like it sometimes, but I bought it and I have it. So here it is. So I just got to come clean about it. It's VESA mounted, but that's fine because I put it up vertical just to the right.
Okay.
My chair is centered on my XDR. It's on my big screen. This is definitely a screen, but it's not really a reference screen. Like historically, I would have email and tasks and everything up there.
Yeah.
The last thing I want is my email pointing at me all day. So I don't even do that. But whenever I'm recording, it's really useful to have all the recording. Even as we're recording Mac Power users, the XDR screen has all the websites and the outlines and everything I use to actually make the show. But looking to the right, the screen, I can tell you how long we've been recording. I can see that the recording tools are working, that your mic is working, everything. I've got all the dashboard stuff that I need to record a show.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing goes for when I'm recording videos and screencasts. So that's its main purpose. It's also useful for when I do these labs meetups because we have all these people and I'm trying to keep people in the room and deal with the chat, but at the same time have data up that I can talk about. It's just useful for certain things, but it's not really a reference monitor like I would historically call one. I can occasionally find myself putting distractions up there. Like if I'm doing, donkey work, I may have YouTube playing on that screen or Apple Music or something over there. But I'm not using it as a daily driver. Rarely do I have like in the old days, I would have Microsoft Word and my legal research up on the right screen. And I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. So I don't really need it for that. And I'm trying to find better uses for it, to use it better. Everybody knows that listens to the show that I love the idea of dashboard and status board things. So I'm thinking about building a custom status board on it, either through some method of using dashboard widgets. I know there's a couple apps that can run widgets as apps. Maybe I might do that, or maybe I'll just have Moom create a custom window setup. But I don't really want it to be a thing I'm looking at all day. I really bought it for production.
No, that's very similar to how I use my laptop open to the left, right? Currently it's Timery, Zoom, and Audio Hijack. And when we're done recording, Good Task will go back over there. Music is a swipe away. So I get the use case, but boy, having a Pro Display XDR and then a vertical studio display seems like a lot.
It is. But hey, I love it. But yeah, so I did that, come clean. Another thing I was thinking, maybe an AI Copilot screen or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of brainstorming with it now. I've had it a couple months and I didn't say anything on the show because I thought I may end up giving it back to the guy. And honestly, on that spectrum, I'm not 100% in love with having this here because it's so big, but it is really useful and in certain circumstances. So it's staying. What a journey I've been on with this monitor.
You certainly have been. Now, are you using the speakers or the camera or anything on the studio display, or just using it just as pixels?
Nope, not using that stuff at all. I guess it'd be nice too if my XDR ever gives up the ghost, I can just turn it sideways and I've got a screen, right?
That's true. And on the VESA mount, is it on an arm or does it have a stand back there?
I've got an arm.
Okay.
I've got an arm.
Okay.
And I've got a high arm because I want the bottom of the screen to line up with the bottom of the XDR.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially when I get my shelf built, right? But but if I look up to the northernmost regions of the screen, I'm I'm craning my neck,
That's pretty far up there.
But it's good for like I said, right now, all the recording thing is there and I can it's always there when I'm recording. For the kind of work I do, it's kind of, it's really useful. I was going to say maybe a necessity, but I got by without it for so long. But But I will never have a recording problem because I'll always see the stuff up here going on while we're recording. And like, there's just like really good reasons for me to have one, even though I'm reluctant.
Okay. The real lesson here is that people know that they can sell you things. And so people offer to sell you things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of nerd friends. What can I say?
It's true.
I think buying it used was key to because I am a little cheap and I'm like, I'm not going to spend that much. I would have bought, you know what? I probably wouldn't have bought one if it wasn't for this one. Mm-hmm. Right. Because I can't see myself buying like a cheap one.
Yeah.
Because that would make me unhappy. And I can't see myself shelling out for a new one.
Yeah. Okay. For me, and maybe we should save this I put in for the fall, a Ubiquiti show, but
all right.
My transformation is now complete that I've replaced my handful of Ring cameras with Unify cameras.
Okay.
From Ubiquiti. Right. So
I need to know, is there any category of Unify product that you have not brought into your system yet?
I mean, they sell a lot of things. Like that's actually kind of a complaint. The community's like, y'all make too many things. They do make some like door lock stuff. I have a HomeKit lock on my studio door, but their door stuff is really like industrial. Like I have to run like a plate in the door jamb and stuff. Like I'm not doing that. So, but I have their switches, their wireless access points, and now a handful of their, I'm using the G5 Flex cameras, their power over Ethernet. So I ran Ethernet everywhere that I got a camera, which was a real adventure in a couple of places. And what's nice about it is they're actually pretty small and they're just powered over Ethernet. So my Ring cameras, like you always had to deal with power. And so the one that was like on the front door, like on the front porch, the power was running like through the attic and then like down a channel. Like it was kind of messy. Ethernet is easier to deal with, even though you got to run it. You know, it's smaller, more flexible. I had plenty of space on my switches to manage it. What I really like about it is there's no subscription. I mean, the hardware's, I bought all new cameras and as we get to in a second, a recorder, but there's no subscription and the data is all recorded locally. So I mentioned my NAS earlier. On top of the NAS is an NVR, network video recorder. It's got 4 hard drives in it. And all that footage is recorded locally on my network. And I can optionally access it from the outside through their app, which I turned on, but it is not getting streamed off to a server somewhere. A couple of things I like about that. I like the privacy of it. And you've talked about this with HomeKit
with
Secure
Eufy.
Video, right? And your stuff.
Yeah.
I feel much better about the privacy angle. And it means that I can still record even if my internet goes down. And so if the internet is out, I still have got footage of, a couple of things. I don't have cameras in the house. I for a while I had a Ring camera that would come on if we left, looking in the living room. I didn't replace that camera. I may at some point, but all the cameras otherwise are outside, and it's been great. It has all the features you would expect from Ring. So any of these other systems, like, oh, I want to know if someone steps in the driveway, but if they're walking down the sidewalk, like don't alert me, or record. I have mine recording all the time. I could just record, 4 seconds before and after motion, like on a buffer. Lots of options. It's fully built out, just like these other systems are. So yeah, pretty great.
I feel like that apps probably played a role in your NAS acquisition as well, right?
They happened about the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm really looking forward to that show because I'm looking forward to it and dreading it because then you're going to convince me I need to buy stuff. But it seems like because you're very discriminating, and the fact that you've gone all the way down the rabbit hole with Unify must mean it's pretty good stuff.
I've been pretty happy with it. But yeah, you run Ethernet a lot of places. You get really good at crimping Cat 6.
Yeah. You got the tool, right?
I got the tool. I played with a couple different types of ends. I found what I like. A whole bunch of stuff.
All right. Well, thanks again. One more episode of the Mac Power Users in the can. Always doing feedback. If you'd like to join more power users, the ad-free extended version of the show, head over to relay.fm/MPU. We'd love to have you join. Thanks to our sponsors, Squarespace and Indeed, and we'll see you next time.